Hello, internet people. Good to be back. It is Sunday afternoon chatter with Statter. I'm so happy to be joining you today. I have done something slightly different, so I would like your input as soon as you form an opinion about it. Obviously, lighting is not the highest priority, but I've noticed that I seem to be super bright on the replays. So I've done something different with my lighting, and the lighting is I absolutely have no lighting on. Like every single light in my house is turned off. This is just light that's coming through the window, and the window has the blinds down. I mean, like my house is pretty dark. But I'm so pale, I guess it works just fine, so or something. Anyway, hey, Poppy Cheney, goof afternoon to you. I'm so happy to see you. I thought of you on my way to starting the stream. You haven't been around at the beginning of the last few streams, all of which have started disastrously. Last stream especially, I had to start it 3 different times, all because I thought I got it down to a science. No, I did not have it down to a science, and I realized I needed to simplify my checklist. Not only did I simplify my technology, I need to simplify my checklist, and I need to focus on the checklist. And I'll tell you what, number 1 item on the checklist, coffee. I got my coffee. I also did some other things, little checklist items before I went live today, and notice that it's maybe not as horrible of a start as the last several starts, mostly because there was no reminder. The reminders are going to be an embarrassing. Once I figure out how to do that, I'm going to be so embarrassed that I couldn't figure out how to do that. All right. Well, I'm so stoked to see Medium 7 Up. Looks like he's here. Kenny Casey also is here. Lona, how's it? Curtis, good to see you. Poppy Shaney, exactly. Checklist, always good. Yeah. And so you will see me sipping on my number 1 checklist item today. I definitely need it. So it's been a little bit. Oh, hey, eMusic, good to see you. Fantastic. It's been a little bit, and gosh, I did all sorts of fancy pants things. I went to hey, Chocolat, goof afternoon to you. I'm glad everybody's rolling on in. I went to I this weekend actually did like weekend things and stuff. I had somebody from out of town come over to my house and hang out for the entire day. And I had to pick them up at the ferry terminal in downtown Seattle and then drop them off at the ferry terminal in downtown Seattle. And I'll tell you, I hadn't been to downtown Seattle since a long time, even before COVID reared its ugly head. I hadn't been to downtown. Downtown was kind of depressing for all sorts of reasons, but it was also a pain because there's massive construction going on for different rerouting roadways, basically in Seattle. So they tore down the Alaska Way Viaduct, which means nothing to you, but basically it was the main elevated roadway through the city of Seattle along the waterfront. It was patently unsafe. They had to remove it. It was a bummer, but of all the thing, I don't like to see I don't like to see old Seattle infrastructure go because I'm one of those romantic types, but that needed to go. That was just patently unsafe. So it had to go. But anyway, so they're rerouting roads and the whole nine. They built a tunnel. And anyway, it's super different. Hadn't been downtown for over a year, probably close to 2 years. And gosh, it was so neat. Could smell the salt air. All the kids were out doing their nightclub stuff. And I remembered back when I was a kid downtown doing the nightclub stuff. And then suddenly I felt really old because I was really glad that I wasn't downtown doing the nightclub stuff. Yeah, so that was kind of a moment. There's more though. But however, I want to say hello to Nani Aloha and let's see here. Yeah, good, Kenny. Good point. Good afternoon to all the Mad Statter Chatter Box crew, and yeah, welcome to Chatter with Statter. If you want to like this video at some point, that would be fantastic. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, by all means, feel free to subscribe. It is free, and then if you're subscribing, you might as well get notified. I go live for streaming chat every Thursday and Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, 1:30 p.m. Hawaii time, 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. And I would love to have as many chatters join the chat as possible. Oh, Mariana. Excellent. Yeah, you can. Oh, and you're not even that old and you can relate to the nightclub stuff. It just wasn't your scene, right? Oh, thanks for the subscription, Poppy Shaney. I'm super stoked. I've got this small time goal to get to the 100 subscribers so I can get so I can personalize my URL. That's my goal for the moment. Oh, and then also I mentioned at the beginning, I don't know if you guys heard me, some of you might have, but I'll repeat it again. I'm doing something different with my lighting today. In other words, I have absolutely no lighting today. Every single light in the house is off. If you think I need to turn on a light, let me know. Like, I'm curious how this is coming through. On my monitor, I look great. I don't look blown out. But on the replay, I've been looking super glow in the dark, pale white. And so I'm thinking, I don't really know what I'm thinking. So we're learning here. And that's why I need your guys' help to let me know if I need to turn the lights on or not. Or maybe if I need to turn off more lights. I don't know where those lights will be, but put a veil over the face. That'll look better. So, okay. Let's see. It looks like medium 7-Up and Poppy Shaney. You think I look okay? Okay, great. Excellent. No light. Perfect. I love it. That's easy enough. Kenny, you kind of miss the nightclubs, but at your age, you'd be the creepy old guy at the bar, not really down to be that guy. Well, here's the thing. I actually like, there's different levels of nightclubbing, and the downtown scene is definitely like the younger scene where you would be the creepy old guy at the bar. But there's plenty of live music venues that, that cater to the creepier older guys at the bar, I guess. And that's where I like to hang out because I really do miss live music. It's one of the things that I miss for a lot of reasons. COVID is not one of the, or is one, but many of the reasons. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of bars that aren't full of the young bucks, but this particular area and neighborhood is basically nothing but tourist stuff and nightclubs, which actually brings me to my point. So I get home from dropping off. I mean, it's 10:30 at night. It's not that late. I get home from dropping off my friend at the ferry terminal, and I turn on I scrolling through internet news, and it turns out like 2 people had gotten shot just a few blocks from where I was at. Another 2 people had gotten shot in this nightclub neighborhood a little further up north. And I think like 5 or 6 people ended up getting shot last night in the downtown Seattle core. Different incidences though. But every single place that there was a shooting, it was 100% the tourist area. And I couldn't help but laugh and think, well, yeah, Pioneer Square is where shootings happen. And Pioneer Square is where we send all of the tourists. Well, yeah, Pike Place Market is where shootings happen. And that's where we send all the tourists. And Belltown, that's where the shootings happen. If you've ever lived there, you know that. And that's where we send the tourists. And so I was just wondering, like, do other cities send all their tourists to the bad areas? Or is it because it's a tourist area that it's a bad area? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Because the more I started thinking about it, the more I was laughing. And then I was like, this really isn't something to laugh about, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. So I'm just wondering, like, I know that in Honolulu, Chinatown has got some criminal situations, so much so that I've been seeing on the local Hawaii news that I watch more than I watch my local news. I've been seeing that they've got some extra patrols in Chinatown, and I think Chinatown's a little bit of a touristy area, but not super touristy, so I'm not quite sure. Pioneer Square, though, our tourism industry is basically based out of Pioneer Square. There's no not being a tourist and never having gone to Pioneer Square. If you ever go to an event at the sports arenas, you've gone to Pioneer Square. I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't know. So, okay, medium 7-Up. No, we don't send Boston tourists to Dorchester. Okay, right. See, I didn't really think that this was something that was normal in most cities. Let's see here. Oh, okay. All right, wait. So I've got so many things that are being said. Kenny thinks my lighting looks good. And Curtis says, blown out look could be because of the color temperature of the light that I use. Daylight balance looks colder, more blue. I've noticed that, Curtis, and all of my LED lights have multiple settings. And unfortunately, the warmest setting on all of my lights makes me look like super yellow. And so I've been using like the mixture of the blue and the yellow, but I guess maybe I just need to go yellow. And yeah, I don't know. I like this no light look too. I just wasn't sure if it worked for what you guys were seeing. So yeah. So Andre, what did you miss? Well, I went to downtown Seattle last night and there was a bunch of shootings in various neighborhoods. And I realized that all the neighborhoods that the shootings were in were tourist areas. And I'm very curious because San Francisco might have this similar problem. So do all of the tourists end up going to neighborhoods that are bad neighborhoods? Like in Seattle, our tourist neighborhoods also coincidentally are like, well, where were you? Where'd you get shot in Seattle? Oh, Pioneer Square. Oh yeah, that happens. Well, where'd you get shot in Seattle? Oh, at the bus stop at 3rd and Pike. Oh, well, yeah, of course, 3rd and Pike. That's where everybody gets shot or stabbed or whatever. I mean, like, do you send your tourists to where it's a bad neighborhood? Pike Place Market neighborhood is not a good neighborhood. I don't want to be all Gulick Avenue and expose our secrets here, but no, I do wonder, who was it that asked, does Seattle no like tourists? Yeah, I kind of wonder, do we not like tourists? Um, I just yeah, Poppy Shaney, exactly. Do we not like tourists? Apparently not. There's this thing, it's called the Seattle Freeze, and it's people who move to the Seattle area from out of Seattle, and they have said that it is impossible to make friends in Seattle because we're just not friendly. And it's 1000% true. I'm not even going to lie. It's even frustrating for like the locals, but luckily the locals kind of know how to get around the Seattle freeze, mostly because I guess we're the ones giving the freeze to the people who aren't from here. And so Seattle is as I think we were like deemed like the safest and friendliest town once due to some weird lost wallet test. And yeah, we're nice and honest in that way, but we're actually not very nice. Like we're not. We'll do what we need to, but after you're gone, we'll talk about how stupid you were or whatever. It's really, we're not, I don't know. Seattle, I mean, we like tourist money, I guess, but no, I don't really know. It seems like no, we don't like tourists. So, yeah, Poppy Cheney, of course you're not laughing at people getting shot and injured. No, exactly. And if it makes you guys feel any better, it was all local people who got shot. It wasn't like it's not like it was aimed at tourists. It's just, I mean, you never know if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time who might get shot. As it turns out, these were all local people. It was local issues that caused the shootings, etc. Yeah. Let's see here. E-music, maybe it's due to people being inside for too long last year. Well, yeah, I definitely think that could be a factor. People don't know how to act anymore. But even still, prior to COVID, forever, all of these neighborhoods, the Pike Place Market neighborhood, the Belltown neighborhood, the Pioneer Square neighborhood, all of these neighborhoods have notoriously been more dangerous neighborhoods than the average neighborhood. And they are coincidentally the 3 neighborhoods that we send our tourists to the most. I mean, sure, there's the downtown shopping core, whatever. But, I mean, Pike Place Market is something you associate with Seattle. It's not a safe neighborhood. Pioneer Square down on the waterfront, it's something you associate with Seattle. It is not a safe neighborhood. In fact, Andy Bumatai might be able to attest. I don't know if he spent much time in Pioneer Square, but he used to perform at a club in Pioneer Square, heart of the neighborhood, so to speak. And, you see some things because people do some stuff. Yeah, so, well, Kaliki Martin, that's a really good, yeah, exactly. Does any place really like tourists? Precisely. I can only assume that the locals in almost all places are a little tired of it. But actually, there's a couple towns in Tennessee where Dollywood is at. Like what is it, Pigeon Forge, and then 2 other towns that are super close. And they every single industry like food industry and every single hospitality industry worker, hotel worker, restaurant worker, etc., they all get like 5 or 6 free passes to Dolly World every year. And I think 2 or 3 passes to the associated water park. I didn't realize that Dollywood had a water park, but when I went to Dollywood a while back, before the fires went through that area, I did go to Dollywood and I ended up talking to a big shock there. I ended up talking to some locals, and the locals were there because they worked at a restaurant and they blah, blah, blah. And basically, the whole point of giving away all these free passes was so the industry workers would be able to talk up Dollywood, but it also really, and everybody loved having Dollywood in their town. Like it was really, they really did like the tourists. They liked it, but I think it was because of a very, because Dolly Parton is a giving person and was thinking. But Kali'i, I think you're right. Not many places like the tourists. I know Molokai is not a big fan. That's for gosh darn sure. So, let's see here. All right. So, Andre, it looks like in San Francisco, all the tourist places are near dodgy places because of the size of San Francisco. Right. Yeah. See, because I think somebody was, on Facebook, somebody was talking about the Trader Joe's on Market Street in San Francisco and how the security guard is just like overblown in armor. And I was just thinking to myself, I don't know, man, if it's anywhere near Market Street where I think it is, like, that's not that security guard is dressed appropriately for the neighborhood. That Market Street is totally a tourist area, and it's kind of not. There are places that are. I don't get scared in cities very often, but San Francisco has led me into places where I go, oh, I chose to turn down the wrong street. So yeah, I thought that San Francisco had tourist adjacent situations. Oh, Mitchie Mama, you're so kind. I look fabulous, period. I don't know, though. I'm really interested in what Curtis has to say about these bulbs. I don't even know what Lona's talking about. Revel bulbs. Okay, Revel. I don't know, but let's look that up one day. And then Curtis responded, something in a 32 to 4200 makes for a nice look. Easier on the eyes at night. Awesome. Okay, I'll be taking note. You thought Portland was nicer than Seattle. I don't know what you mean by nicer, but it in the regard of like cleaner streets or in regard to nicer people. But I don't really care which you meant, because you are correct, sir. I believe that Portland is nicer than Seattle. I absolutely agree with you. Hey, Terry Gilmore, good to see you. I'm so stoked that you were able to come back from the beach in time. I mean, I hope you didn't cut it early just for the chatter. I am a little bit jealous that you go to the beach 3 times a week just because you can. I mean, I can go to my beach 3 times a week because I can too, but I can't really get in the water. I mean, I could now. I guess it's kind of warm and the water's probably close to 60 degrees at this point. But yeah, I said 60, and that's as warm as it ever gets out in the water outside of Seattle. Usually it's like around 53 year round. So needless to say, you don't go swimming very often unless it's super hot. Whereas you, Terry, get to actually go swimming in your ocean. Yeah. Let's see who. All right. Wow. I'm way behind on the chat. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, Lona, welcome to California. Now go home. I'll tell you what, in Washington, we've got something similar, only very different, which is, oh wait, you're from California. You need to go back. Washingtonians really are not a fan of Californians. Yeah. Californians, which by the way, I don't know if you guys know or watch SNL. I know that you know of SNL. I don't know if you watch SNL, but SNL has a hysterical skit called The Californians. My friends hate that skit so much. I think it's funny as hell. Pardon my French, but I think it's hysterical. So, here in Williamsburg, we get very annoyed at tourist behavior, but we are Virginia and we have this thing about hospitality. Yeah, Seattle has no such thing as Seattle hospitality is the Seattle freeze. We got nothing on Southern hospitality. That is for sure. Oh my goodness, e-music. Oh, that's hysterical, and I can only assume that, that shirt that you're mentioning would sell big in a lot of towns. "I recall a T-shirt that read," says eMusic, "If it's tourist season, why can't we shoot them?" I don't know where you can buy that shirt, so I can't post a link, but if anyone can find that shirt, I will post a link in the description of this video later on, so, yeah, that's funny. Um, oh my. Let's see here. So Michi Mama, a lot of mainland people are are moving to Hawaii. As my mom's neighbors died, their plantation homes were sold to mainland people by the kids. They fix it up and resell homes for over 400,000. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind. And yeah, I can only assume that Michi Mama, it's Hawaii is literally the epitome of, oh, could everybody just go back to where they came from? You don't come here. You can come here for a minute, but don't move here. Yeah, and unfortunately, Michi Mama, one day I hope to be one of those people who move there. But I can tell you right now, I won't be one of those people who pay $400,000 for a house. Not because I have a problem with that. Well, I do. I have a financial problem with that. I couldn't afford a $400,000 house, so I'll be like maybe living in a closet somewhere. Yeah. Um, let's see here. The tourists that come right, the tourists that come to Oakland come a bit ready because 'cause you've got a reputation. Oh, absolutely, yeah, which is probably why I like Oakland anyway. And so let's see here. Dollywood is located in Sierreville. There we go. Yeah, you've been there several times. Okay, so Terry, you have lived in the Pacific Northwest and you've been to that part of the country. Isn't it weird how the wild flora and fauna, they've got rhododendrons, they've got the same kind of lilies. When I was walking in the woods there, it almost felt like I was back home in the Pacific Northwest with the stuff I was seeing. It was so very weird. Oh, hey, where good to see you. I'm so glad that you're able to eke in a little bit of time for this chatter with Statter. I know that you've been super busy and we've missed you online. So I'm so glad that you've been able to get here today. Let's see here. Yeah, Kali'i, I was thinking that too. 400,000 for a house in Hawaii is a steal. I know, and unfortunately, even I still couldn't afford that. Even if I sold my house here up on the mainland for a stupid amount of money, I still wouldn't be able to afford a $400,000 house. Um, so yeah, Hawaii is the only place. Isn't it funny though, Andre, how like the locals have every reason to just be like, go away. Yet it is really the Aloha spirit you know, is true. I mean, there's a flip side to it. And if you deserve the flip side to Aloha Spirit, you deserve it. Or if you get it, you probably deserve it. But yeah, the so warm and welcoming and making everyone feel like family at when you go visit Hawaii. And I just honestly sometimes wonder how the locals have the patience, especially lately with all of this whole bothering wildlife is getting under my skin, and I'm not going to go off on a rant because I don't know enough, but I know enough to know just stop. That makes me mad. So, let's see here. Yeah, Deb, you're totally right. Washington people want to go to the warmer California ocean without a doubt. Yeah, lots of tourists on the Central Coast. You're not a fan of the traffic. Well, gosh, Central Coast, I mean, once you get to the coast, I mean, there's only so many roads on the coast, and those are always packed, especially, yeah. Um, oh, really, Terry? I've never been to Maine. So Eastern Tennessee has flora as Pacific Northwest, but even more similar is Maine. I'm not really surprised what with the maritime climate, etc. Although they do have such extreme winters. Uh, I'm assuming it's not all the like, but interesting. I've wanted to go to Maine for a while, but never been quite up to that neck of woods. So Mitchie Mama. Oh, you're nailing that. You are nail on the head there. You don't know about that Southern hospitality. Your ex-sister-in-law from Alabama was such a faker with her so-called hospitality. You're all for genuine as opposed to fake. Yeah, that is true. I do. And I do, that's part of the problem with cultural differences, because honestly, coming from some place where we give you the cold shoulder before we give you a hug. Southern hospitality seems a little fake. It's a little too sugary sweet, and I know that a lot of Southern people are very sincere about their hospitality, but I don't. It kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes. It's just like, are you for real? And of course, as you know, and as you pointed out, Mitch Mama, yeah, no, not all of them are. Mm-mm. Um, yeah. Oh my goodness. Your uncle told you to make sure you're not the last Hallie at a party on Molokai. You actually, honestly, Miles, I think that that's some pretty good advice on all of the islands. Have known some local Hallies that outright have said, the Aloha spirit is, come, make yourself comfortable. Tell us what you really think. Give us an excuse. So yeah, so watch yourself, my friend. Watch yourself. Um, whoa. Oh, yeah, we're not going to talk about that, Mitchie Mama, because that is what some people in the South would do. But yeah, Poppy, Jamie, you are totally right. That's when you walk away and you just say, bless their heart. It's basically saying buzz off. I will say the sugary saccharine sweet of Southern hospitality has given us that gem. Bless their heart. I mean, it just, you sound like you're being nice, but you're not. Not at all. Let's see here. So, Andre, yeah, you've been to Maine, great lobster and views. I have pissed off a lot of West Coast farmers. No, not farmers, fishermen type people, ocean people, because our lobster on the West Coast is inferior. The East Coast, the Maine lobster, as it were, which you can get, up and down the East Coast. The Maine lobster is superior. It is a better piece of fish. It just is. And I say this as a West Coast person who really is, I don't want to give the East Coast any props. I have this made up arbitrary East Coast, West Coast rivalry in my head. And the West Coast is the best coast, right? Except for when it comes to lobster. The East Coast has us beat, dude. Their lobster is so good. So good. Andre, the coldest people you've ever met were Finns. Well, that's not surprising because apparently, in Finnish, the phrase that people use to talk about their boyfriend or their girlfriend translates to the person I hate the least, which frankly I kind of love. And I sort of feel like maybe I took a DNA test and I'm not Finnish, but I kind of wonder if I am Finnish. The person that I hate the least is how they describe their significant other in Finland. The person that I hate the least. That's funny. So yeah, the Finns might be the coldest people that you've ever met. That tracks. I don't know a lot about Finnish folk, but that tracks. Oh my. So let's see here. Yeah, Andre, it's really kind of funny how Howleys have come down to the islands and suddenly claimed it as their own and are telling other Howleys to stay away. I can't help but find that a little bit ironic. That's just me. And you need claws on a lobster, and that corn is good. Lobster corn? I don't know what you mean by corn, so you're gonna have to explain that, Andre. So yeah, bless your heart. Exactly. It means you're an idiot, basically. Yeah. Which is what I mean, talk about sugary, saccharine, sweet, fake. That right there is it. But I kind of like it. I know that is inconsistent. I just said I didn't like the sugary, fake, sweet stuff. I know I said that. I know. But bless your heart's the exception, I guess. Your your Irish friend gave you mad props, shocked by saying, "You're not the worst." Yeah, that's high. That's high. I consider that high praise, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So Yeah. Oh, E-Music, Poppy Chaney, and I think it was Lona that was involved in this conversation. Right. Where does Northern California end or begin? Oh my, isn't that an interesting question? Because some people consider San Francisco part of Northern California. And if you look at the map, no, San Francisco is pretty much dead center in the middle of California. It is not Northern California at all. Right. And so then you've got people who think, oh, well, once you get past Shasta, you're no longer in Northern California. I think of it as once you hit Redding on I-5, you're no longer in California, because that's when, once you hit Redding, it gets crappy. Sorry, it just does. But at the same time, further north, I think, is probably a more appropriate geological demarcation. I think like where Mexico stopped being is sort of where Northern California begins in my mental landscape. But I think if you ask everybody in or outside of California, they'll have a different answer to that. Where is Northern California? You'd think you'd be able to answer, where's Northern California? Everybody has a different answer. The Finns make the Russians look outgoing. Yeah, right, totally. Actually, though, the Russians, I don't know. We've got a lot of Russians in the Pacific Northwest, and the Russians are oddly outgoing. I suppose it's the Russians have to warm up to you, and then they are remarkably outgoing. In fact, I might have talked about this before. I don't know if it was on this stream or not, but one of my favorite, it doesn't exist anymore, but one of my favorite coffee places in my town, Burien, used to roast small batch, like 3 pounds at a time, coffee, and oh god, they had this Colombian Antigua that was so delicious, but it was a Russian owner, and all of his daughters and nieces and nephews worked there, or whatever. And I guess because I was a regular or something, oh my God, they were, they would give me these weird homemade sausages and just all these pastries and things. Like, they were super awesome people. They were remarkably outgoing, actually. But I hear what you're saying for sure. Oh, they serve sweet white corn with lobster in Maine. I didn't know that. Okay. I've, like I said, never been to Maine, so I didn't know. But sweet white corn is very delicious. So sign me up. Oh, shock. Tell me more about this Russian birthday party. I may have gotten sausages and pastries, but I've never been to a Russian birthday party. I can only assume there might be vodka involved. Now, I know that's stereotypical, but shock, was there vodka involved? Yeah, grandma grew up in Humboldt. I would consider that Northern California as well. Wouldn't the dividing line be when the climate changes from desert? Well, it's yes, you would think that, and where, but clearly it's not so clear. Yeah. Clearly it is not so clear. The Finn descendants in Minnesota are nice, but they get teased by the Swede and Norwegian descendants. That is really funny. Yeah, the Danes, the Finns, the Swedes, definitely all have this weird, like, my hair is redder than yours. Yeah, well, my hair is blonder than yours. Well, it's such a strange Nordic rivalry that they've got going on up there. Right, medium 7-Up, precisely. All the Northern California maps you're finding include the Bay Area. But if you look at the map of California as a whole, I disagree. That's not really Northern California. That is flippin' flirpin' Central California. Divide it in 3 and tell me where the Bay Area lands. It ain't in the northern third. That's all I'm saying. All right, hold on. What are you saying, Michi Mama? Now I'm confused. On your trip to Europe in 1978, you began in Denmark. I used to be cool to both mainland and Japanese tourists, but they made you change your mind. You were so impressed with their aloha. Gotcha. Now I'm following what you're saying. Awesome. Well, you know what? That's phenomenal. That's it's ironic, I must say. But right, learn from someone else. It's like, oh, it felt so nice to be treated like that as a visitor. Maybe I should treat my visitors nicer, Yeah, maybe Seattle should take a page out of the Denmark notebook, for God's sake. Okay, so shock, you confirm it. Yes, exactly. Lots of vodka. Sometimes stereotypes exist for a reason. They just do. But yeah, a lot of rich, heavy food so you can live through the vodka. Well, you need to have the rich, heavy food to live through the vodka because well, vodka can bite back. I'm not going to explain to you why or how I've had that experience, and I'm certainly not going to explain to you how many times I've had that experience. But just trust me, vodka can bite back. Even good, expensive vodka can bite back. So there you go. Um, yeah. Oh no, Terry Gilmore. I don't know the anthropological reasons for the Seattle freeze, but everything that you just said, you feel like the Pacific Northwest has a reputation for giving the cold shoulder because of a deep Scandinavian heritage and a penchant for privacy. Is that an overstatement? No, that's exactly that. That's always what it's been chalked up to when I've read about this phenomenon because it's a legit phenomenon. It's so much of a legit phenomenon that people write about it. It has a name. It's called the Seattle Freeze, and they've explained it, and that's because yeah, we're full of a bunch of people from the cold north who don't like to visit with each other, and we like our privacy. um, let's see here. E-music, with your response to Poppy Cheney, you think Sacramento thinks that thinks that they're the divider because they're the capital and everything divided is begins with them. I can see that logic. I'm not saying it's good logic. I'm not saying it's correct logic. In fact, I thoroughly disagree with the logic, but I can absolutely see why they would have that perspective. I mean, it's all about them, really, or rather they are all about they control everything, so they are the center of the California universe. Okay, well now, Andre, you do have a good point. San Francisco was the first big city in California, so they made the maps. I actually, I have no proof. My footnotes do not exist. My thesis is lacking, but I would dare say that San Francisco was one of the first big cities on the entire West Coast, not just California. I mean, I know that Seattle was shortly thereafter because both towns grew and exploded with the gold rush. But Seattle was more the Klondike gold rush than the Suther's Mill gold rush of the California variety. Which, by the way, a bunch of Hawaiians were involved in that. Like a bunch of Hawaiians had been relocated to Suter's mill as laborers, and Herr Suter, was the gentleman whose property the first gold was found on. And so, yeah, oddly enough, I never knew this so recently, but Hawaiians are like a huge part of the California gold rush history. So, vodka is your friend until it is not. Exactly, until it is not. Whereas, see, like tequila, for me, it's generally not my friend at all. Every once in a while, it'll be like, no, we're going to be cool for the night. And then, like, halfway through the night, tequila's like, I changed my mind. We're not good. And, that's cool because tequila lets me know early that tequila has changed its mind and decided we're not going to hang. Whereas vodka is just like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna hang. I mean, I'll do a bunch of dirty stuff behind your back, and tomorrow you will know all the things I did. But right now, dude, let's roll. We're having a great time. Woohoo! That's what vodka does. How come when you cross the border from Washington to Vancouver, the people get friendlier even though the weather is the same? Andre, I'm going to assume you mean north to Vancouver, British Columbia, as opposed to south to Vancouver, Washington, because technically you're not crossing a border into Vancouver, Washington. But you have to remember, that's a totally different culture, a totally different set of regional it's Canada, man. They had different migration patterns after a certain point when the two countries split. And some of the people who went to Canada, people like my family on my mom's side, they went to Canada because they had to go to Canada because they fought on the wrong side of the Revolutionary War. and they got kicked out of America and they had to go to Canada, and maybe they decided to be nicer because they didn't like being kicked out of the country. I don't know. I'm just making that part up. Humboldt went to Hawaii as well as to, wait, I'm confused. Shock, you're going to have to explain what you mean by that, because I think I'll want to talk about it, but I'm not sure what you mean by that. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mariana, what a great question. Yeah, what is a stereotype from where you guys live? I mean, I'll start right now and I'll live it. Coffee. Mm-hmm. Coffee is the Seattle stereotype. I mean, there's plenty more, but yeah, coffee's mine. So yeah, what is the stereotype for your area? Yeah, Deb, I had some friends from Kalama, and I never made the connection until recently how Hawaiian that name sounds. I don't know anything about that town or that history, but I think I might look that up, and we'll talk about that later, unless you know a little bit more about it, in which case we can talk about it now, or you can tell us about it and I'll tell everybody and we can talk about it now. Let's see here. Oh, Terry, you went to a cool museum of Russian vodka in St. Petersburg. Those earlier distillations looked pretty darn rough. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't even want to think about what I mean, even good vodka sometimes can be a little sharp. So yeah, the earlier batches might have been a little rough. Oh yeah. I'm wondering, you know how I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Coca-Cola Museum, but the Coca-Cola Museum, after you go through it, they've got this tasting room of all the different Coke products throughout the United States, or no, throughout the world. I'm just wondering if the Vodka Museum had a similar tasting room. Similar but different. Andre, vodka is the pro level booze. Yeah, vodka. I used to think that brown liquor was my enemy because it just doesn't go down. I just don't drink a lot of it. It doesn't taste good to me. So I considered brown liquor my enemy. And then one of my friends pointed out, my friend who doesn't like brown liquor either. And he was just like, yeah, that's why vodka is your enemy, because you, or rather he, maybe me, will drink enough vodka to suddenly wake up in the stranger's bathtub and not know how you get there. Brown liquor will never do that to you because you don't drink enough of it. And he did bring up a good point. It's just like, yeah, as easy as vodka is to go down, the problem with vodka is that it's easy as it is to go down. So yeah, maybe vodka is my enemy. Yeah, okay, so Poppy, some people are not like that. Some people, tequila is their best friend forever, BFFs. But no, you and I, obviously, yeah. You know what page I'm on. I know what page you're on. Occasionally, when we get wild, we think, oh yeah, let's go hang out with. I forget why I don't like them. They seem so cool. Everybody else seems to like them. Let's go hang out for a minute. Oh, right. This is why we don't hang out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so no, wait, who, oh God, Lona, no, absinthe, no, absinthe, so many reasons why absinthe is not on my list of things to do. First off, what is with the whole, turning green when you pour sugar and water in it? I mean, what is that? That is so weird. I mean, turning that milky green. I mean, it's like a magic potion. And so that freaks me out. But really the only reason why I can't drink it is because it tastes like black licorice. And black licorice is not a thing that I can do. Not even. Oh, okay, wait. All right, wait, I've got to. Oh, wow. All right, we've got a lot of time. I'm so far behind in the chat. Wow, you guys are chatting it up so much. I love it. Chatter with statter, full of chatter boxes. So, okay, so Kenny, your Texas stereotype is, that you all ride horses, 10 cattle, and are friendly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I don't think that all people in Texas are friendly. And the reason why I don't think all people in Texas are friendly is because Texas has some of the strangest, dress codes. Like, you can't go into places unless you're dressed nice enough. Like, there are some places where if you're a woman and you don't wear a dress, they won't let you in. And I'm not, and like a man, if you've got tennis shoes on, you've got to be kidding me. Oh my God, you might as well be the scummiest scum of the earth if you've got tennis shoes on. Doesn't matter if they're $500 pair of flipping tennis shoes, they're tennis shoes. You're not allowed in. Mariana, the only alcohol you ever drank is vodka and you don't think you ever will again. Yeah, probably because you can mix it with some things and make it go down, and then you drink too much, and then you drank too much. Mm-hmm. Andre, interesting. Some black folks fought for the British and had to go to Canada, and they were not treated nice. This is news to me. However, obviously, I'm not at all surprised to hear this. But I will say that Canada did not have the history of segregation the way the United States had. In the 1960s, I I don't know, after the World's Fair, so after 1962, my mom came down to Seattle for some reason. And she ended up sitting on the wrong side of a diner. So she was sitting on the same, she went in and sat down a couple seats down from the black dude at the counter. And they were the only two people in the diner other than the staff, and the staff were just giving her, just mean mugging her. And finally the black dude was like, "Hey, where are you from?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm from Vancouver." He's like, "Yeah, I didn't think you were from here. You need to go sit on the other side because they are not going to touch. This is the black side of the diner, and they are not going to serve you or talk to you. You need to go over there." So she was stunned, like, on what planet is this happening to me? So she went to the other side because what are you going to do? She wanted some coffee. Yeah, so even though I'm not at all surprised to hear that black folk were not treated as well in Canada as they should have been since they fought for the British, um, it wasn't the same as it was here. Actually, though, you bring up a really good point. It could have been worse. I really don't know that part of Canadian history. I have something I might need to Google. Random fact, there's a Waikiki beach outside of Salem, Massachusetts. That is random, medium 7 Up, and I'm glad that you told me that. That is something I'm going to bring out in conversation. When people say I'm going to Waikiki, I'm going to ask them, Massachusetts or Hawaii? And they're going to look at me like I'm nuts. Oh, I love this. This is great. Um, Andre, coffee's strong in the Bay Area because Pete started there. I didn't know that Pete started there. I do know that Pete's and Starbucks had huge rivalries and issues. But I will say that the best coffee I've ever had was a medium roast Colombian from a roaster, not Pete's, but it was a San Francisco based roaster. I still talk about that coffee to this day. And not only do I talk about this coffee to this day, I actually have friends who were with me when we had this coffee, and we all still talk about this coffee to this day. Sort of like the what is it, the international coffee houses where it's like, "Oh, remember when we were in Paris and Jean-Luc?" Yeah, we have that kind of moment, only it's over the coffee. Because it was so good. Oh, okay, cool. We're going back to the Vodka Museum. Samples were involved at the Vodka Museum. I like to hear that. I like to hear that. Uh, Shakalaki spent last night in Texas. It wasn't so bad. No, actually, Texas, honestly, I mean, as much as I badmouth Texas, and I do, I really enjoy all the times I've ever been to Texas. Austin is flippin' awesome. I've never been to San Antonio, but I know people who've been there. I know people who live there, and I've seen enough pictures. San Antonio looks pretty cool. Houston, even though it's a big city and it's like, why would you go to Houston? Houston's good time. And Galveston, oh, Galveston's awesome. I really don't like Texas for a lot of reasons, but I feel like maybe in a past life or something, I must have lived there because whenever I go there, I feel like I'm coming home, which disturbs me. But I have this sense of like I am from here. Um, yeah, Texas is weird. Texas is weird. So yeah, the ouzo. Cynthia, you met some Greeks in the Marshall Islands and drank some ouzo. It ranks with tequila. I definitely have heard stories about ouzo. And doesn't ouzo also sort of taste like black licorice? It seems like so many of the legendary boozes are black licorice tasting. Absinthe, Jägermeister, ouzo, none of which I've been able to take shots of. Like, I think I had a sip of absinthe, but Jägermeister can't even get it past my nose. And the ouzo, I've never had it, but I've been told the black licorice essence, and there's just no point. That's not going to happen. So oh, well, yeah, Canadian warts are definitely starting to be noticed, shock, just in this particular flavor of horrible things that power structures can do to people based on their identities. I don't know much about the whole black folks being how they were treated in Canada, but yeah, the indigenous. I don't even want to get started on that. Yeah, yeah. That's funny. When you were in Canada, some people were talking stink about another Canadian because he had curly hair. Well, that's really messed up. And I kind of want to hope that it was just dudes that were trying to fight each other. And I know this is really stereotypical, but honestly, Canadian dudes, especially the ones like not in the cities necessarily, but like out in the out in the woods. Sorry about that. They will fight over anything. Like, I had a friend who went up to Canada and he got into a fight over a jacket. And it wasn't like, it was an agreed upon fight. Like, this one guy went up to him, "Hey man, I'll scrap you for your jacket." And he was like, "Okay." And so they fought, and then he got the other guy's jacket. I mean, like, Canadians like to fight. So I wonder if they were like trying to egg him into a fight because he had curly hair and they had nothing better to egg him on with. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, curly hair, huh? That's funny. So, oh, Mariana, yeah, Canada, like the United States, has an equally problematic history with Indigenous peoples. It's not something that, it's a remnant of colonialism. Indigenous peoples all over the world have been stomped on, and I don't think that there are very many countries in the world that don't have a history with that issue. So, oh, Mariana, you've got an overnight layover in Texas in 2 weeks. So excited to see it. Well, you're only going to see a minute of it. I mean, it takes a couple days to drive across Texas. Texas is huge, like Kenny just said. Or excuse me, like Andre just said, Texas is a big state with many parts, some nice, some not so much. Yeah, some of them you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's horrifying. Some parts are super humid, like Houston, super, super humid. Other parts, total desert. Where are you flying into, Mariana? Are you flying into Austin? Are you flying into Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth? Those would probably be the only places. Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston probably are the only real likely choices. But yeah, where are you flying into? Because if you go to Dallas, Fort Worth, if you're going to be there, you can see where President Kennedy got shot. And I'm not suggesting like, yeah, what a great tourist place or tourist destination, but they've made it a tourist destination. They literally have a huge like white X in the middle of the street where it happened. And when I was taking a bus out of Dallas, Fort Worth to go to Atlanta, because I took a bus trip for 24 hours from Austin, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia once. That was a whole thing. But anyway, the bus driver went out of his way to take the bus over the white X. So I've ridden where he got shot. And it was a big part of, like, it was something they were bragging about. I'm really not sure, but they make it so they want to show you where Kennedy got shot. So you can go do that too if you're going to be in Dallas, Fort Worth. Weird as it is. Oh, okay, cool. All right, you talking to Poppy Cheney. You're going to be flying around. You're going to be going into Dallas. Yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth. Yeah, ask your family to take you take you where JFK got shot because It's a big old X. Andy, maybe he was wearing a nice jacket. Yeah, I mean, they'll scrap for anything up there in the Great White North. No, it was not hard to no, it was my friend laughed about it because he was like, it was so random. This guy he'd never met before, who he'd never had any interaction before, but he was about the same size, same build, same everything. I guess that I was just like, yeah, you look like a worthy partner. Let's scrap. It was a way to pass some flipping time. Because yeah, no, it wasn't like a new Versace limited edition whateverness jacket. I mean, I think it was like a Levi's coat with some fleece lining in it, the one with the white sheepskin lining or whatever. Um Oh, really? See, all right. See, Andre, you're telling me things, even though my mom was Canadian, but she was also not a scholar, and she would readily admit that well, she dropped out of high school. She would readily admit she was more interested in where the next party was than anything. So yeah, I did not know that the Canadians interned their Japanese population in BC, obviously. And when the war was over, they tried to get Canadian Japanese to go back to Japan, and they would give them tickets if they wanted. I had no idea. And that's, I mean, I guess it was nice that they offered tickets, but that's still messed up, man. Like, really messed up. I mean, I don't know if it's more messed up to offer the tickets or to not offer the tickets. That's just messed up. Yeah, no, you won't miss sorry to shout in there. Yeah, shock, you won't miss the grassy knoll because it's right by the X. You can't help but notice that. Oh God, Andre, yeah. So you can go to Dallas and stand and yeah, have your friends stand on the X and take a picture from the old book place. Well, I don't know if you could go up to the old book place, but you definitely could do a lot of inappropriate yet funny poses. Let's see here. Well, medium 7 Up. I guess I am a Seattleite to the core, always sending tourists to places where they might get shot. That's where you go. Yeah, Dallas took a page out of the book for Seattle, I suppose. That's good. That's funny. Oh yeah, Terry Gilmore, exactly. If you haven't hit the like button yet, if you haven't hit the like button, do what Terry says. Just hit the light button, even though it's not a light button. I cannot say these words. Just do that thing that you know what I'm trying to say. Just do it. Just do it. Don't make me say it. Oh, okay, wait. We've got Cindy Krause has some more Death-tination tourism. If you drive to the Central Coast from the Valley, you go past where James Dean crashed and died. Yeah, no, that's a bummer. But I guess the real question is, Cindy, do they mark it with a big white X? Do the bus drivers take tourists there to show them? I actually feel like people would like that. Seems just as legitimate of a tourist destination as the JFK thing. I mean, people were really into James Dean. It's okay that you missed that, Shock. You didn't have to see that part. That's funny. um Oh, Andre, well now you bring up a good point. Tickets to a country that was bombed to the ground. All right. How I forgot that detail, I won't explore. But now that you brought that up, it does reinforce my suspicion that yeah, offering the tickets is almost worse. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, brother Bruce. Good to see you. I'm glad you showed face. All right, we've got someone doing K in the house. For anybody who doesn't know, just in case, K crew are folks who are lurking, but are not necessarily partaking in the chat. And we love our K crew folks or our lurkers. And if you just want to let me know that you are here, you can always put in a K like brother Bruce just did. Andre, yeah, you're from Oakland. Seattle does not scare you. Seattle shouldn't scare you if you're from Oakland. Honestly, to tell you the truth, Seattle really shouldn't scare anybody. I mean, okay, didn't you just say that like 5 people got shot? Yeah, totally, people got shot. But those were like local beefs with local people doing local things. It wasn't like it's not like people get mugged. Honestly, in my entire since I've lived here since 1978, I have only heard of one person in my entire life get mugged in Seattle. One person get mugged. And guess what? They got mugged at the 3rd and Pike, right by the Pike Place Market bus station. But literally in my entire life, one person has been mugged. It's for tourists, it's not necessarily a dangerous place. I mean, but it's a city, you need to be aware of things. But yeah, no, Andre, you wouldn't be afraid. You would have no reason to be afraid in Seattle. I mean, I live without fear though. I'm really stupid that way, so you probably shouldn't take my word for it at all. All right, Shock, let's see if I can do it. Just say false crack the like button. I can say that. So do that. Thanks, Shock. I can say that. Oh, Michimama, you're cheating the system. You hit the like button twice under both names. All right, let's do that. Everybody, yeah, let's do that. Shock, no, I did not see that episode of Red Dwarf where he had to shoot himself after he came back in time. JFK had to shoot himself, but that actually sounds like it would have been kind of a funny arc. Pappy Shaney. Even though it's been re-engineered, it's still a bad merge and turn. Okay, obviously you're talking about where James Dean died. Why did I think that he like ran into a telephone pole or something? Or did he run into a telephone pole on this merging, turning thing? Why did I think he ran into a telephone pole? Or if not a telephone pole, electrical pole, utility pole. Let's just say utility pole. Why did I think that he did that? In Paris, they have plaques where all the resistance fighters were shot during World War II. Well, the plaques seem appropriate. It just seems weird, though, to have a huge white X in the middle of the street. And then even more strange to have the bus driver go off his route, out of his way, just to show all the passengers on his Greyhound where JFK got shot. It's just weird to me. Yeah. So, okay, wait. Death-tination tours. Yeah, I was joking when I said that, but after I said that, I was thinking like, I could totally see somebody running with this idea. What are stumble stones, Shock? I mean, I hear okay, so Andre, there are Stoppelsteinen, i.e. stumble stones. I don't know if I said that right. Yeah, Stoppelsteinen. Okay, so there are stumble stones, Stoppelsteinen all over Germany explaining who was torn from that location by the SS and whether or not they were murdered. But I don't know what a stumble stone is. Is it like a curb? Is it like a what is a stumble stone? Seattle after dark, not too good. Daytime is fine. Yeah, daytime is totally fine. And Deb, really, yeah, people should probably listen to you. Seattle after dark isn't very fine. Like I said, I live with no fear, so it's just like whatever. But when I used to hang out in Belltown, literally, I went across 2 streets, or I had to go kitty corner across the block to a friend's house. And in the time it took us to cross the 2 streets to go half the block down, we counted 17 open, drug dealing crack dealers or whatever. I mean, and not only did we count them, we counted them out loud and pointed them out. Like it was like, oh, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. So I mean, yeah, I'm not one to listen to when it's like, oh, it's all good. It's probably not actually, so don't listen to me. So, oh, okay. Oh, a guy pulled out in front of James Dean. Oh, okay. There's so much more to this. So James Dean, so Andy says a guy pulled out in front of James Dean. Poppy Shaney says James Dean had a passenger in his car who lived. The last thing James Dean said was, I hope that guy stops. A person ran the stop sign and pulled out in front of James Dean. Oh, Wow. Oh, that's awful. Right. Um, okay. I for some reason I had everything wrong about that, about his death in my mind. I did not know that he had a passenger. I thought he was by himself, and I thought he ran into a utility pole. I wonder who died like that, because why would I even think that if that didn't actually happen to somebody and I want that's weird. Um, okay, so Shock tells me that a stumble stone is, well, I guess what exactly you'd think it would be. It's a tiny plaque in the sidewalk and it's not smooth. You will trip over it. Well, that sounds like something we would not have in the United States of America for fear of lawsuits. But it actually sounds like kind of a good idea, just not for here. You were in Irving, Mitchie Mama. You were in Irving, Texas for 3 weeks 21 years ago. Your classmates invited you to go with them to see The Spot. But you declined, you didn't wanna see it, too sad. Well, yeah, first off, exactly, I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal to me in the sense that I wasn't born when it happened, so he was always dead when I was alive, but seriously, that's a traumatic moment in our country's history, and if you did live through it, I don't like, really? You wanna go really? You're gonna paint a white X, okay. Um, yeah, okay, alright, so let's see here. Andre, no, seriously, the forests in the Pacific Northwest are way more scary than the cities in the area. I completely agree. We have animals that like I can talk my way out of a lot of situations with people, but I can't talk my way out of a situation with a cougar. I don't care how much of a gift of gab I might have. There's no talking your way out of a situation with a cougar at all. And I don't mean the kind of cougar you find at a bar. I mean the kind of cougar and the kind of bear, also not the kind of bear that you find at the bar, but those kinds that you find in the mountains. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. There's so much going on here. So Curtis tells me that James Dean, his car had a weird, unsafe rear axle and it was really unstable when pushed. Too much power, not enough engineering. That's how my dad felt about the early Mustangs. That's why he wouldn't let me. We had a 64 and a half Mustang and he wouldn't let me. It was supposed to be my first car and after he drove it for a while he was like, "No, this is nope, not for a newbie." So okay, and then the passenger was his mechanic. He was on his way to a race. Wow, okay. Gosh. Um wow. I really had no clue about the story behind that James Dean crash. Now, no, Jane Mansfield, Andre, wasn't she the one who crashed under her car like went under a semi truck and now the semi trucks have like bumpers to make sure that doesn't happen? Wasn't that Jane Mansfield? Um I feel like I feel like there was a Hollywood crash with a truck. Um that caused a whole bunch of, like, actual federal regulations to the trucking industry to make sure that kinda thing doesn't happen again. Um Oh, medium 7 Up. No, I don't think I'm getting Paul Walker confused with, James Dean, but you know what? You might be right. You might be right. Oh, did Dean, as in Jan and Dean, did he also die in a car wreck? Now, eMusic, your theory about maybe I'm thinking of Dean as in Jan and Dean, music duo. Your hypothesis is more likely than the Paul Walker hypothesis. It, if Dean from Jan and Dean died by hitting a utility pole, that is 100% who I was thinking of. 100% who I was thinking of. Um, Yeah, shock. Yeah, okay, I'm not surprised that people in Germany know to watch out for them, and yeah, Germany has no interest in letting people forget what happened, which is phenomenal. I mean, it's awful that what happened happened, but I'm glad that they are not trying to sweep it under the rug, because if you don't let that infection heal from the inside out, it's gonna abscess and erupt again, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Um, yeah. Kenny, you wonder if there's a stumble stone in front of wherever it was that your German grandfather was when the SS snatched him up. Yeah, I don't know, but if you've got the information of where that did actually take place, my best guess is there are resources out there that you'd probably be able to track it down. Obviously, I don't know what the official, state of Germany would do in regards to that, but lots of random people take on these types of projects. I wouldn't be surprised if there is sort of a stumble stone project where if you've got the name, they might be able to tell you where to find it. I know similar but completely different. Uh, we've got here in the United States, maybe worldwide, but it's a findagrave.com, so you can find where anybody's buried. I mean, it's a collective work that everyone is sort of contributing to. Uh, I wonder if there's a stumble stone resource similar to that. So, okay, so it was Jane Mansfield that had that horrible. Yeah, that was a horrific. I remember my mom told me about that when I was a kid, and it really stuck with me. That was a horrific accident, it sounded like. So Poppy Shaney telling me a little bit more about this whole situation with James Dean. It was a Porsche Spider, a two-seer race type car. I'm assuming maybe two-seater is what you're trying to say there, because I don't know what two-seer means. And I know enough to know that that could actually mean something, and I just don't know it. So two-seater race car, open with no roof. Yeah, I love convertibles, but it's a little scary. Dean of Jan and Dean didn't die, but he was seriously hurt and had brain damage. Okay, well then maybe I'm not thinking of him. Terry Gilmore, yeah, kind of like going to the 9/11 Memorial Museum in New York City. You wanted to remember and honor, but you left feeling a little somber for a long time, right? Because you lived through it. I mean, I'm sure if you dragged your, 15-year-old niece or nephew or whatever who didn't live through it, they might not walk away with such a heavy feeling. Or they might. But I mean, when you live through that trauma, it's like, really, you want to go to that big white X and really? Um. Oh, okay, Cindy. Next time you head that way, you'll send me a picture so I can actually like burn it into my brain and figure out and actually like see what's going on. Yeah, no, that's oddly enough a poorly engineered merging on ramp. I am curious to see that picture. We have plenty around here, so I like to see like, oh yeah, we did that too. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. Right, and Find a Grave is so helpful for researching family history. Yeah, I have a friend who retired, and to keep his one of the hobbies that he got after he retired was tracing his family lineage, and he was going through old newspaper clippings and old this and all that. I mean, he was going through some really obscure resources, and finally I said to him, I was like, "Hey man, why don't you just use findagrave.com?" And he was like, "I don't know what you are talking about, but tell me about what you were talking about." And apparently that link opened a whole new world for him, and he was so thankful, so much so that he is part of the project of the group of people who are actually inputting this information. It really, like, it's creepy. I know it seems creepy, but it's really helpful when it comes to tracing lineage. No, Andre, yeah, you're correct. East Germans did not get the same education as the former West Germans did. But I hadn't even thought about the consequences for their non-white non-white Germans. In fact, actually, I have to say, and I know that this is showing my ignorance, but just the phrase non-white Germans is kind of weird to me because, as Andy has always said, it's like Germany's where they make the Howleys. But of course, people migrate. I mean, what I just said was patently stupid. I know, but it just seems like non-white Germans. That's a phrase that I'm not so sure has ever crossed my mind before. Let's see here. Yeah, the summary of the show is going to be interesting. I'll have to take lots of notes when I rewatch it because we are covering a lot of weirdness, but that's the whole point on Chatter with Statter. Chatter is all about things that are random and don't necessarily matter. So we might touch on things that are political in nature, etc. But generally, we're not going to go to depth because Chatter is not about um, well, chatter is not about showing your footnotes and proving your thesis. Chatter is, by definition, just inane stuff that just randomly goes here, there, and everywhere. And that's what we are about here. So, and we went a lot of places. And yeah, shock. I'm not at all surprised to hear that 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 a friend of yours who was the first American to join the Russian ballet wasn't allowed to dance lead roles because he wasn't Russian. Period. I'm not at all surprised to hear that. There's nothing about that, and not only that, that actually has nothing to do with like. That's not. I don't mean that as a Russian slur or whatever. I just Russian ballet, I mean, like, ballet companies are so insular and so tight anyway, and then being a foreigner, I just like, "Oh, yeah, well, of course not, dude. What were you expecting? You're no. What? No." Um, let's see here. So shock. Okay, so Find a Grave. All right, so we've got people who are familiar with Find a Grave, and I'm not necessarily a total weirdo for bringing it up. Find a Grave is about the only place that you've found references to your rather uniquely named great grandpa. Well, and that's funny you should say that. I'm very curious what the uniquely named grandpa is, by the way. If you want to share, we are all ears. But my friend Swas, who was doing all this research, his family has about infinity name ways to spell their last name. And so yeah, so he has come across some entirely new branches of his family because of Find a Grave and because, oh wait, that's how they spelled it. Okay, I'll go look at that then. Or, oh wait, that's who they were, that's what their kid's name was, and now I can and whatever. Yeah, Find a Grave, very useful for people to realize they have family they never knew because they spell their name different. Oh, okay, Cynthia Kraus, you were referring to the memorial. Okay, I guess that makes more sense. Like, why would you take a picture of the freeway on ramp? That's stupid. But yeah, if it's not a problem to pull over and take a picture or whatever, I suppose they probably have parking. I mean, it's got a memorial spot there. Yeah, if it's not a problem, I'd be stoked to see that. Um, You think the worst on ramp you have is the one from University Avenue going east towards Kahala? I want to say, Michimama, does Andy have that ramp in one of his videos? Because I feel like I've heard you guys talking about that, and I feel like it was somewhere around the university. But I also know I make things up in my head all the time. The non-ramp. Okay, so Terry knows the on-ramp you're talking about. So yeah, Terry, have we seen this? Terry, bitchy mom, have we seen this on-ramp, non-ramp in one of the videos? Because I feel like we have. And yeah, Anne, that's exactly true. People are taking pictures of all the headstones and even people that aren't their family. Yeah, that's precisely it. I mean, it's a community effort to bring this information to the database. And like I said, it's sort of creepy, but at the same time, it's really, really helpful. Already, I've got two different people on this chat alone that are like, whoa, tell me more about, or yes, this helped. Tell me more about this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, Andre, Germany had some African colonies for a few years. I didn't know that. Doesn't surprise me. It seems like Europe went to all the European countries went to Africa for a minute. So not even surprised there. Not even. And yeah, Deb, I think Anne answered, but no, Find a Grave is just findagrave.com. It's open to anybody. I think it's free to sign up. You can create, I mean, you don't even have to sign up. You can do the searches without having an account, but having an account apparently is helpful. If you're doing major research. But yeah, it's like, do you want to know where Kurt Cobain is buried? Do you want to know where Jimi Hendrix is buried? Do you want to know where I mean, I guess you know where Elvis was buried, but I mean, what you can look up, it doesn't have to just be for family members. It can be for a lot of, a lot of people. You want to know where Marilyn Monroe's buried? Well, she's not buried, but she's interned. Interred. She's in Hollywood. I have a rubbing from her stone. I didn't take the rubbing, but somebody gave it to me. Oh yeah, okay. That is a strange name. Pinkettle. See, when you've got the T and the L next to each other, I know I said that wrong. But when you've got the T and the L next to each other, yeah, right. Nope. Nope, nope. Yeah, Michi Mama, I can't remember what ballet company you're talking about, nor can I remember the movie that you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about. And check this out. Only recently, I mean, like within the last 5 years, apparently, like point shoes, the ones that you stand on your toe when you're a ballet dancer, they would only make them in like pink or black or white. They wouldn't make them in skin tones for black and brown people. And the whole point of point shoes is to elongate the leg, which is why they're made with white or pink, because traditionally these were white folks. It was to make it look like it was all one unit, like you weren't wearing a shoe. And so that was sort of part of the art of the figure. And so it was really a disservice to all of the dancers who couldn't blend into a pink or a white shoe. And only recently have they started making ballet shoes for dancers of color. And they come in a wide variety of hues, as they should. And it's so stupid and silly that something as trivial as a shoe being made is such a huge ordeal, but it is such a huge ordeal. And it just recently happened. And I'm pretty sure there have been black ballet dancers longer than 5 years. Let's see here. Your mom, Anne, used to take you graveyarding as a kid to location ancestors. Cemeteries are just pretty parks with lots of stones in them. You guess you're weird and creepy. Perhaps. I am a little bit weird and creepy too. When I used to ride my bike a whole lot, I was always during the summertime looking for places that were quiet and pretty like parks, but not full of people like parks. Guess where I ended up? Yeah, cemeteries, great place to ride your bike, dude. Seriously, you don't have to worry about running into people. They've got good paths that are well worn. No, really, I loved riding my bike in graveyards, and I'm sure somebody somewhere would be like, "That's disrespectful." It probably was, but still did it. Still did it. Okay, so pincel is how they say it, Shock. Okay, okay. So, Andre, I don't think on the Crayola crayons, I don't think they've got that anymore. They've changed that. The crayon that used to be called Flesh was a peach tone. They don't have that anymore. I don't know what they call it now. But they don't have that. And I also know that Crayola has a whole set of crayons that I think the set is called Flesh Tones, and it's just nothing but all the different browns and beiges and pinks and whites and tans and all, it's a box full of skin tone colors. So that's kind of cool. But I know the color you're talking about. I know the crayon you're talking about. They don't have that anymore. Yeah, Mariana, exactly. Crayon actually has a box of crayons for skin tones. Yeah, just what I was saying. Exactly. Oh, Terry Gilmore, nice. You've got the summary, quite lovely. JFK, Russians, death scenes, gravestones, a new mystery bestseller, perhaps? Nope, just chatter with statter today. Yep, exactly. And do I believe in ghosts, Mariana? I don't not believe in them. I mean, I obviously can't prove they're in existence, but just because you can't prove something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I have had some strange encounters that may or may not have been a ghost, but I definitely have had some weird encounters. But I've never experienced a ghost in such a way that, like, I have a reason to believe or whatever. I mean, I'm open to the possibility, but I don't know. I don't know, I'm open to the possibility. So, you learn to drive in the graveyard because they had a big street in there. Exactly, that's what I'm saying is graveyards have, well, nice paved roads oftentimes. Not all of them do. In fact, I wrecked my dad's car, my El Camino, in a graveyard one night. There was a It was a tight corner. I was trying not to hit there was a tight corner with, like, 2 cement poles. I was trying not to hit the front of the car on the one pole, and I managed to slide the side of the car on the other pole. And then, you're telling your parents, "Oh, I was in the graveyard to watch an eclipse," or whatever it was. I can't remember why we were there, but it was like a legit astronomological stargazing reason, but they totally did not believe me, and I got in a lot of trouble for that. So, yeah. Shock, you taught a friend to drive stick shift on the nearby mental hospital campus, low traffic, well-maintained roads and parking lots. Right, there you go, there you go. So, ooh, Cynthia Kraus, what are you talking to Anne about? Something was from the 1700s and they were on your grandparents' farm in Rhode Island. Oh, are you talking about headstones? Yeah, when I was in, oh, I'm gonna say Massachusetts, but maybe I was in Rhode Island. I was in Bristol, Rhode Island, Rhode Island, Bristol, Massachusetts. I was there. There is a graveyard there that, once I figured out the layout of, like, where the graveyard started and how it expanded outward from that, I, found some headstones. They were kinda buried under the sod, but I tore the sod up. Shh. I got some rubbings from, like, I think 1780 something. The East Coast, God, the East Coast has so much more better history than the West Coast does. Yeah, that's right. I'll give East Coast props for some things. Um Yeah, and that's exactly it, Curtis. I'm certainly not, cracking a beer or having a picnic on anyone's gravestone. I'm quiet. There's no music. Yeah, they really, it is, graveyards are very peaceful. And I guess, I'm not the only one because I think, isn't there like a graveyard up in Punchbowl? And people, like, go exercise there a lot from what I understand. So I guess I'm not the only one. All right, let's see here. Mitchie Mama, you would often see from your lanai the late Glenn Grant conduct his night ghost tours. They would walk to the graveyard across the road, plus the Contessa is said to be built on an old Hawaiian cemetery. Interesting. I totally would go. I mean, do I believe? I don't know. Do I believe enough to pay somebody money to take me on a tour? Take my money. I totally will go. I mean, like I said earlier, I like graveyards. So let's go to a graveyard. I am not afraid to go to a graveyard at night. I wrecked my daddy's El Camino in a graveyard one night. I'll go. And Anne, you're not the only one who has said that that sounds like a song title. If I was a musician, I would have written a song by it by now, but I'm not. So here, take it. Go write a song. Yeah, no, Mariana, you're not the only one. A lot of people don't like graveyards. Like I said, I think I'm kind of the weirdo one who's like, let's go exercise and ride a bike in a graveyard. Obviously, I'm not the only one because Curtis doesn't think it's that weird either. But yeah, I'm not surprised that there are people who feel like you do. Oh, really? Okay, so Arlington National Cemetery is beautiful in different seasons and has pretty challenging hills. Lovely to stroll, but exercising there is frowned upon. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, Mitchie Mama, you haven't driven a manual shift in 40 years. Tomorrow night, you have to drive your cousin home in his car. He'll update us all on how you did. Definitely. But you know what? I will tell you this. I only drive manuals. That's what I drive. And even though I only drive a manual, every time I get into a new manual, or even if, like, once I get the clutch changed out on my own, I am like a brand new driver. I'm and figuring it out. So don't. So you will feel like a fool, I guarantee. But don't let that discourage you. Like, yeah, you'll get the feel for it. But you're gonna look like a beginner for sure. For a while. But yeah, definitely let us know how you do. Andre, that is hysterical. You've got a cemetery at the top at the top street and a hospital at the bottom of the street and a lot of senior living in between. The whole circle of life on that street. Yeah, really. It reminds me of a friend a friend that I have who lives on the East Coast who has only lived on one street his entire life. Now he's lived in like infinity apartments over the span of his life, but they've all been on this one street. And so yeah, I wonder if I wonder if any of those seniors are like that. It's like, yep, born there, gonna die there, and living here in the meantime. Wait, hold on. What? E-music? What? There are public markers on buildings around where you're at, e-music, noting sightings of Bigfoot. E-music, where are you? And what is in the water? You can't be serious. That's funny. I mean, we've got some weird stuff up here in the Pacific Northwest, but nothing official like public markers on buildings talking about citing Bigfoot. That is weird. Yeah, exactly. Deb, that's what I want to know. E-music, where in the world are these Bigfoot markers you speak of? Like, seriously, dude, what on earth? That is so funny. Um, wow. Um, oh, so Curtis, you did a photo project on headstones in college, kind of got you hooked. I can see that. I mean, first off, just the photography aspect uh of taking pictures of the stone and engraved stones of any type, with the shadows and the textures and everything. That's just a challenge. But also, really, some of that work, some of the headstones, some of the monuments, I don't know what you want to call them, I mean, they are works of art that deserve to be preserved. I've done plenty graveyard rubbings and stuff just to capture, I mean, not just like super old stuff, but just to capture some cool designs and things like that. I totally can see how that particular um project got you hooked. Okay, so well, Mariana, I of course I smile when I read your comments. The comments make me smile. Let's see. So oh hey Lono, good to see you. Yeah, Monster Mash was a graveyard smash. That's exactly it. And ET Crayola has Colors of the World line. It's cute cartoon graphics of kids and comes in 24 and 38 and 42. No, I don't even know how to say words, let alone numbers. 24, 32, and 48 pieces. Whoa. Oh, wow. 48 skin tones? Holy crumb. I kind of want to get, so it's a box of 48 of nothing but like peach, beige, and tan and brown. And that is awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Let's see here. Oh, your shoulder's all lit up. Gonna need one monster mash within a week. They're gonna need a hammer. Sorry, Shock. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess what? Do you get like massaged every week or something and your trip kind of threw that routine out of the out of pattern? Oh, that's so funny. God, I don't even think of Bigfoot as a Minnesota thing. I don't know why. They've got plenty of woods. It makes sense. So it's a cut up. There's a hilarious Bigfoot silhouette cutout on a highway heading to southern Minnesota, and it makes you laugh every time. That's so cute, Anne. Um, Andre, I'm not gonna say those words because I don't know how to say those French words, but you went to a place in Paris where Oscar Wilde is buried. Is That's not the same place where Jim Morrison is buried, is it? Oh, wow. Apparently this graveyard in France that Andre's been to and says the word is the graveyard of all graveyards. Yeah, New Orleans has some good graveyard tours. I would love to go. That's actually why I would go to New Orleans because it's a little bit hot and humid for my taste, and I don't really like crowds of people, so Mardi Gras is not my scene, but I fully would go to New Orleans for the graveyard tours. That would be why I would go there. Yeah, they've got the crypts. Now, Terry, do you know why they've got the crypts instead of burying people in New Orleans? I'm sure you do. This is not secret, but do you know why they have the crypts? Um, oh, really? In Paris, they drive past Jim Morrison's grave? All right. I guess I don't know. Driving past a grave is a whole different thing than driving past where somebody got shot, though. I mean, I can see why Jim Morrison's grave is maybe a tourist attraction, but the bathtub that he died in sure isn't, and I don't know if it should be. Oh, it's just some farmer's joke, the Bigfoot silhouette. Gotcha, gotcha. So, yeah, Chocolat, you routinely wreck your body and need to get it fixed, but you suspect the airport death march is to blame. That makes sense, that makes sense. You had, a week's worth of your whatevers all over, in the bags and, yeah, carrying stuff that you didn't normally carry. Um Oh, wow, Curtis, interesting. There was a period when they cut stone to look like tree trunks, and when viewed from behind, you would swear they were real. That is cool. I've never seen a gravestone like that. I would definitely like to see that. Okay, so that is the cemetery that Jim Morrison is buried in. All right. I thought it looked familiar, but then again, um a lot of French words because I don't speak the language sort of look like each other. So, yeah, there you go. Oh, right. Corpse powder, spreading your ashes. That's funny. I hadn't thought about that, Lona. People have their ashes spread on Mount Shasta, and you were okay with that till you met a voodoo practitioner and corpse powder. Yeah, some people would not be comfortable with that. Yep, Andre. Yep. Aware and yep, Terry Gilmore. The crypts were built to keep bodies from floating away during seasonal flooding. Yeah, I figured you guys all knew that. I figured you guys all knew that. Interesting, Poppy Shaney. All right. So he's telling eMusic and Mariana, you have a very good friend who's Native American who you grew up with in woods. He was in the woods his whole life and he was not scared of nothing. He saw Bigfoot and he never goes in the woods again. Well, honestly, I don't know if I believe in Bigfoot, but I do know that if Bigfoot does exist and I did see him, um, yeah, I wouldn't, I would, I know that I had a moment where I thought there was like something was going on in the sky and I was like, "Is that a UFO?" And I literally just the mere thought that it might be sent my blood running cold. I honestly, some people are like, "Yeah, I'd love it if a UFO came down." No, I know that I wouldn't. I would be paralyzed with fear, and I can only assume that Bigfoot would do very similar. I would have a very similar reaction to that. Very similar. um Yeah, bring Tilly for security without a doubt. Tilly's hard shell will definitely keep us all safe. Um, I know, shock. If you cannot identify it, it is unidentifiable. That's always been my argument as well. You saw a shark, but you still surf. Yeah, okay. I'm not surprised to hear that. I've seen, but no, a shark is totally frightening, but you are familiar with a shark. I mean, in the sense that you know what it's capable of, you know what it does, you're familiar with the concept of what a shark is. Like if you saw something the size of a shark, but you didn't necessarily know what it was and you had no reference point, like a Bigfoot in the water or something, I don't know. I mean, you might be super macho and not think it's a big deal, and I'll let you be that way. Music is life, but I don't know. I think that if it was like an unidentifiable, unknown thing that you saw in the ocean on your surfboard, you might not be so casual. Um, but that's just me freaking out. Right, Michi Mama, exactly. You heard about people on the Big Island seeing UFOs. So whenever you had to do the drive at night, you would pray you don't meet up with one in the middle of nowhere. Precisely because you don't know. I mean, it's one thing. It's like, well, yeah, I've heard that there's, wild pigs that might come out on the Big Island too, but I'm not as afraid of those because I know what a wild pig is and what a wild pig can do to me. I know how to handle myself with a wild pig. Probably just get in the car and I'll be safe. With a UFO, there's a whole bunch of unknowns. Like, if I get in the car, will I be safe, or can they get me out of the car? They can probably get me out of the car. I don't know. Um, Shock, you're allowed to be pedantic here if you want. That's funny. Um, so you pay like 20 years or more, and then if your family stops paying, oh, is that what happens with the Crips? 'Cause yeah, I knew that they like kind of emptied them out. I didn't know how they did though. Um, so yeah, oh, okay. Okay, Shock, we want to know, is Tilly scary? Cynthia Krause is biased about Tilly, so she can't answer whether or not Tilly is scary. Oh, okay. All right, all right. So Tilly is scary if you paint your toenails red, because Tilly thinks they're strawberries. I can appreciate that logic. So yeah, well, right. See, okay, the night walkers, I would be afraid of them as well. Like, I don't know how to handle myself with a night walker other than throw myself down, don't look at them. I think I'm supposed to take off my clothes or something. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I would be terrified. Terrified. Shock. All you saw of Tilly was a big tortoise butt sticking out of a flower pot. Sounds like Tilly's got a good life. Sounds like Tilly's got a good life. E-music. So the shark is one of your family Amakua. As soon as you get into the ocean, your body tells you if there's a shark around. So what does that mean though that so the shark tells you to get out of the water, or like you just don't have a fear of the shark because it's one of your ancestors and they won't hurt you? How does that Amakua thing work? Andre, pee on yourself is what you do for Nightwalkers. I'm not so sure that you're telling me the truth, but I will say that part would probably take care of itself. So, truth or not, I would probably end up in that situation anyway. So, let's just be honest. So, okay, E-music, you were with a group of people on a Kauai beach when you saw a UFO. Yeah, I was on a beach in Oregon when I saw or thought I saw the UFO, and I was struck with a level of terror that I didn't know I was capable of feeling. And just the unknown of it. It was yeah. I know, right? Unaware that I thought the Wii was for jellyfish stings too. Oh, that's funny. If your sword turns blue, it's orcs. No quote. Okay, all right. Words of confused wisdom there. Music is life. um, Is it you, or do the sharks only attack the tourists in Hawaii? Well, maybe, because tourists like me can't tell the difference between a shark and a dolphin. Andy gave us a great hint because sharks go from side to side and dolphins go up and down, and that's awesome. But here's the deal: um, I'm gonna be on shore when I make that judgment. Like, if I see a fin in the water, I'm getting out of the water, and then once I'm out of the water, I'll be like, does that fin go side to side or does it go up and down? Oh, it goes up and down? Cool. I'm still gonna stay out of the water because I'm a tourist who doesn't know what I'm looking at, and I might not know that that actually still is a shark. Um, so right, Mitchie Mama. Some local male probably told a female tourist that one thing about removing all your clothes. I know, that's why it's like, is that really real? I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do or not, but I've heard that's what you're supposed to do, but I do have to wonder. Um, so, Sting know when the baddies are around? I don't know what that means and where, so there we go. Oh my god, it's 6:15. We've been on for almost 2 flipping hours. Alright. You chatterboxes, you. You make me chatter longer than I should, but that's okay. This is a good time to chat. Alright, well, I guess we should maybe think about wrapping this up. This has gone on much longer than usual. Sting is Frodo's sword that glows blue? Oh, okay. All right. I had no idea. But that okay, suddenly everything now that we're talking about all right, suddenly everything makes sense. Yeah, I don't know enough about that to get in on that conversation. I can't even remember what what movie is that again? I mean, I know what set of books is that? It's Lord of the Rings. Good lord, how embarrassing. No, I'm so oblivious to that tale. I have seen the movies ish. Um but yeah, I'm not familiar enough to catch all these little hints. So, okay, all right. Oh, it's Bilbo's sword? Not okay. All right. All right. Um so yeah, Michi Mama, you're not supposed to look the Nightwalkers in the eye, but I also was told what I was told was you get down on your stomach, put your face to the ground so you don't look at them. But I was also told that you're supposed to like take your clothes off and I guess before you get down on the ground. Um but that seems a little extraneous. Like, can I just not look at them? Can I just prostrate myself onto the ground and just not look at them? Isn't that good enough? Do I really need to get naked? Yeah. Anyway, so right, yeah, exactly, Poppy Shaney. So yeah, music is life is not the only crazy surfer out there, right? A surfer in SoCal saw a great white, went to shore, got his GoPro, and went back out to film the sharks. Exactly. I'm not surprised to hear that a surfer is not afraid of a shark. Nothing about that is at all surprising. But I just have to wonder if a surfer saw something that they had never seen before come up out of the water next to their surfboard, if they would just treat it as casually as they treat a shark. That's all I'm saying. Um, Oh, interesting. The town of Kanakakai on Molokai is rumored to be a night marcher hotspot. Well, I believe Music is Life is familiar with that town, and so he might be able to give us some input. But it looks like Andre Lono is agreeing with you. So, all right, I don't know. Um, oh, okay. E-music. Sharks don't always attack, but your body shakes with fear, so you get out. Okay, that fair enough. Yeah, I mean, yep. There you go. Um, let's see here. Curtis, I do have to they need to see your tushy, so I do have to get naked. All right then. Terry Gilmore argues with you, Curtis. It's night workers that remove clothes, not night walkers. So I don't know. See, now I'm left with I don't know whether or not I'm supposed to get naked when the night walkers march on through. I just know that I'm not supposed to look at them. Yeah, exactly. So wait, Lono, what depends on the size of the waves that day? The night marchers marching or whether or not you're afraid of the shark? I guess it could be either, huh? Uh, right, exactly, Anwar. Sorry for that silence. I wanted to make sure I was getting all the chats. Yeah, I'd pick not looking over stripping as well. But not only that, like there's precious time to be wasted. If I'm supposed to be on the ground with my face down and not looking, I need to do that as soon as possible. Precious time is wasted taking off my clothes before I do that. And I don't want to accidentally see something I'm not supposed to see while I'm stripping off my clothes to show everyone what they're not supposed to see. So that's just me. That's just me. Right, yeah, Michimama, right, exactly, that's what I was figuring. It's whether or not he gets out of the water has more to do with the size of the waves than the size of the shark. Not at all surprised, like a true surfer, always. Yeah. So, Shock, you'd be looking at the Night Watchers, you take direction poorly, well, then you would be killed. Just so you know, that's the threat. It's the threat of death. Get naked or you might die is basically apparently what we're looking at here. Right, yeah, you hear the drums, that is what I've heard, you hear the drums first, but still, um yeah, so Music is Life and Medium 7 Up. If you guys hook up on Molokai, August 13th through 17th, that would be awesome. Miles, I really don't think you need to bring the cello. My best guess is if you're going to hook up with Lono, he's going to have instruments galore for you to jam with him with. I really don't think cello is necessary. I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not going to be there. I'm not in charge of the rendezvous, but my unsolicited opinion is you need no cello. No cello, no necessary. You'll survive without it. So there you go. Oh, awesome. Music is Life has a task for Miles. Now I'm so curious. So maybe we'll talk about that next time. So Music is Life, Miles, talk about it offline, figure out what the task is and let us know, report back, and we'll talk about it next Thursday because that is when I will be streaming next. We're going to wrap this up. I said that 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. We're going to wrap this up. I will see you guys. Well, most likely I'll see most of you tomorrow morning on the Daily Pigeon Live with Andy Bumatai. He streams on Twitch every single day from 6 a.m. Hawaii time, 9 a.m. West Coast time, noon p.m. on the East Coast. That is where I spend my mornings, and most of you do too. But next Thursday, I will be here on YouTube as usual, 4:30 p.m. West Coast time, 1:30 Hawaii time, 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. I don't know why I have a problem remembering East Coast. And yeah, I will see you guys then. Until then, have yourselves a good couple days. Keep safe. Don't let the UFOs land on you. Don't let the sharks bite you. And oh my goodness, by all means, don't let Bigfoot or the night marchers notice you. That's all I ask. And if you do that, maybe I'll see you on Thursday. Thanks so much for stopping by.